What's up, everybody? Welcome back to SkillSharp The Podcast and to another edition of the Professional Pivot. Whether you're feeling stuck in your current role, burned out on your industry, or simply craving something new, this episode is for you. We'll break down what a career pivot really looks like and share stories from those who successfully made the leap. I'm Todd Nakasone, along with my colleague Brian Wright. Our special guest today, Wade Smart, founder and president of Smart Partners Consulting, LLC. What's your thoughts on people changing industries mid-career? Do you find it a bit more challenging, or do you have to do a bit more research? Let's say somebody wants to get into the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
How do you help them navigate that situation?
Well, first I tell them to run like hell in the other direction. No, I kid. No, I think it's great. I think when you follow your passion, you follow your dream, and you achieve that dream, your job satisfaction really takes off. I was one of those guys. When I jumped back into recruiting after having left 5 years, I was adamant that I wanted to go to somewhere fun, entertainment or sports. Being a former athlete, it was easy for me to choose one of those two. And it was just a matter of who was going to give me an opportunity. I was working in banking. And then, like I said, my buddy Mike D reached out, who I worked with at the agency side, and he threw me that bone without even knowing. It was just, I kind of was out there looking, and then maybe my energy put that in the universe, but he reached out to me. So I did pivot. And then when I got there, I realized, wow, all these people want to work in entertainment. And maybe I was a little bit jaded being from LA. It wasn't anything that I was pursuing. It just kind of happened through osmosis. It finally kind of shared itself or showed itself, and I kind of fell into it. But there's a lot of people that want to work in this industry, in the entertainment industry. And then you realize I have an opportunity to have a positive effect on their careers, and I don't know about you guys, I'm sure you do. I still get emails, in mails 3 years later, 4 years later, from people that even 10 years later that I have helped in the past. And they have been very grateful and thanking me for helping kickstart their dream, their career. And I owe you so much. And you think about it, and that's why I try not to be transactional, because I do know that this affects people, and their passions a lot of times. And so, if I was just working, for a soldering company and I just needed solderers all day long, it might be a little different, it might get old for everybody, but I knew that, you get to make dreams happen. And so for me, if you have an opportunity to switch industries, and so many people today have to pivot, you talk to recruiters and they're getting out of the game, right? They're becoming teachers or going back to school and finishing, advanced degrees and maybe following their lifelong dream, whatever that happens to be. I'm all for it. Whatever gives you that job satisfaction, maybe you take a little bit off the top. Maybe you make a little bit less, but your job satisfaction grows and you become healthier for it. I think it's great. For me, this is still a passion for me. And so I get to help in other ways. But it is new, because, when I help someone now, I'm not just getting an hourly wage, as I was before. The impact, for me is greater, but the purpose is still there. So for me, that has not changed. And this is something that I can see myself, continuing with as long as I'm able.
You touched on a point earlier where your uh, former relationships or people that maybe you've placed in the past. Uh, was it difficult to ask them for help, or how did that process take place? When you say, "Hey, I need some legal advice," you're an attorney or what have you. What would you do in this situation, or what was that process like for you?
It was easy for me. It was never difficult to reach out. We have lots of friends between my wife and I who are lawyers. My son goes to a private school, and it seems like every other parent is a lawyer. It's amazing to me, because I felt like I missed the boat on that one. But it's amazing, And so when it comes down to, hey, I got this contract. It's a 20 pager. Can you just give me your feedback? I do vendor management and have done it for years, but vendors are not sending me a 20-page resume. They're sending me a three-pager, right? I can get through those pretty easy. But I felt like 20 pages, I'm gonna need some legal help on this one, right? So I would ask for advice and say, hey, would you mind? And some people felt like they owed me one. Hey, man, I owe you one. You kind of helped me with this or whatever that was. Maybe I coached their kid in some speed training, and so so I would get those favors back. So that part was easy. I think the misnomer is, okay, now I have to do business development because I'm going out and I'm chasing business. And how do I do that? So it's like anything. When this recession, this whole economic downturn started in 2023, and you go back through my post on LinkedIn, one of the first things that I said is do not do this in the dark. What I meant by that is do not do this alone. Don't think you can do this search by yourself and come out on the other end, because you will get downtrodden. You'll hear no's. You'll get hard on yourself. You'll start with the self-doubt. I said, come out in the light, share the fact that you are looking. And so I follow my own advice, right? So one of those things that I did is I posted that I was looking, and I think I put the green circle. And then after 6 months, I said, enough of that. I'm going to start my own business. So I did a soft launch in August of 23. And then after the soft launch, then I let it be known that, hey, this is my business. This is what I'm doing. So anyone and everyone that's connected can see that. And then I started reaching out to my network, people that I knew. And it was one of those things where, okay, I placed Brian over here. I worked with Todd over here. I did this with Joanne over here. And I just said, hey guys, I'm starting my own business. If I can be of service to you, please, let me know. I've got my own executive search and my track record, that sort of thing, right? And if I can be of service to you in any way, you let me know, right? It's also one of those things where, you offer to help, but you're also letting them know that, hey, I'm also, looking to grow. And so it's a two-way street. You try to help them, and then hopefully they're willing to help you. And so it's one of those things where, again, I go back to the warm outreach, the warm calls. There's no such thing as a cold call. So I started connecting with people, and then those people started introducing me to people. And my partner said one of the key factors of networking is when you talk to someone, you ask for three people that they should be talking to. Who should I be talking to, Todd? Can you give me three names of people that I need to outreach to? And then you talk to those three people and you ask those three people for names. Who should I be talking to? Because I really want to help someone, right? I was digesting consuming some material just yesterday about reach one, teach one, right? That means we got to reach back and help somebody else, right? You can't just get all this knowledge and keep it to yourself and hope that you can just run away with it. We got to help. We got to help our fellow man, right? And so every time I learn something, I'm willing to share it and give it back. And I hope that's the same. And so one of my colleagues I'm doing business with now, she did that. She introduced me to people, and then they introduced me to people, and then they introduced me to people, and that led to one of my first deals that really helped me through this recession, right, through this economic downturn. And then I introduced her to some people, and then we just kind of kept it going. And that's really what we do. And Todd, you were one of those folks I reached out to and said, hey, Todd, this is what I'm doing, man. Anything that I can do? And Todd's like, yeah, absolutely. And so you were a great example of helping out, people. And like I said, you've been, kind of without knowing it and verbalizing it, you've been kind of a mentor to me because I've watched you do your thing and you're always willing to help. And Brian, I mean, you took off over at Fox. I mean, I was there for a short run and I would watch you from afar and I was like, dang, how is that brother doing it? How can I get a piece of that? And I said, I'm stuck right here and I keep switching. And I said, okay, enough switching jobs. I got to do my own thing. No one's going to give me that opportunity to run the show. And I did. I got the opportunity to run the show at Fandom and it was great until some folks came in with some money and invested and, changed the whole platform. But it taught me, again, I go back to it, is never allow yourself to be boxed in. Always have options. And so I keep that in the back of my mind, and it's helped. It's helped me in my career to always have options. And I feel like now I've got more options than I did before.
Yeah, one of the things that I mean, it's an interesting paradox, if I can call it that, for younger people, and even obviously the transitioning, more seasoned people. Folks do think that they're alone.
Mhm.
They think they're in this struggle by themselves, or funny enough, because of the market, they're next to a bunch of other people that are struggling as well. So no, they don't
Sure.
feel like, there's that coach available. But, we also know on the sports side for young people and parents, even actually on the education side and people getting to college, a lot of people are paying for coaches now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's become more acceptable because of the long-term value that it can bring. I still think on the professional and business side, which is really crazy to think, people sometimes still balk at the resume writer, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
some like
yeah,
basic support that they could get from a coach. So
sure.
can you kind of quantify, and I think you said it in different ways already, but what's the epiphany for the seasoned candidate, but also the
Mhm.
younger talent, the creator coming on the value of a coach and just having that advice in your ear?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I'm gonna give you an anecdote that I heard my partner say. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. Todd, I told you I was gonna bring my partner onto the call, but she's dealing with some personal stuff, so she couldn't be here today. But I'm gonna give her credit for this one. I was on a call with her, and we were talking to a candidate, a potential client, right, who was going to join, and the person was kind of balking at the fee. And she said to them, you know, what's kind of a salary that you're comfortable with? So the person threw out a salary. And then she broke it down what that monthly salary looked like. And I'll give you some easy numbers. Let's just say it's 200,000. That monthly salary is about 20 grand. So every month you're not working, you're not making 20 grand. You're losing. So let's assume that you're out of work for another 3 months. You're down 60 grand. I can get you interviews. I can promise you that you'll get interviews if you just spend 10 grand. So you spend 10 grand, half of 1 month salary, and I'm going to guarantee that you'll get 4 interviews. And if you're good as you think you are, and as good as I know you are, you'll land those jobs. And so that's really where the rubber meets the road, right? So if you're an executive and you're making 200,000, 300,000, how much are you losing by not getting those job interviews each month? And if you're starting out and you figure, okay, I can't really afford, 10 grand, 5 grand, 15 grand, whatever that happens to be. Well, I tell you what, if you got a credit card and you can put $700 on it a month or $1,500 on it a month, you can start the interview process right now. And as soon as you land that job, you can pay that credit card off. I said, but if you don't, what are you going to use that credit card for? To pay for stuff that you can't afford right now. So I'm trying to get you to a point to realize that, hey, you can't afford not to do this. Otherwise you continue to fall behind. And so my partner said that, and I mean, that was cold, man. That was
Yeah.
cold. I just said,
I
wow.
was thinking in my mind, ice cold clothes. That I
Yeah,
mean, how can
yeah,
Smooth, real
somebody
smooth.
how can somebody refute that? I mean,
yeah.
that's for your future,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. That's it. So when you're investing in your son's, in my case, my son's batting practice with his private coach, or we're spending money on club basketball so he can go and work on his jumper and those kind of things because we go out in the driveway and 5 minutes later he's begging to go back inside or he's mad because I'm trying to change his form, so I have to invest in a professional coach. He's not going to give that guy the same attitude or that gal the same attitude. He's going to work on that jumper for the course of that lesson, right? And then all of a sudden he's got a wet jumper, for the rest of the week, and so we go back to next week and we get it until we keep perfecting it. It's the same principle, it's the same principle over here. So you pay for the service to get an opportunity, right? And all you need is an opportunity. So I'm here to tell you that if you don't invest in yourself, what are we doing?
Yeah. Who's going to?
Yeah. What are we doing? You know, so I tell people that, and I think what will happen is, and I'm not a prognosticator or anything, but 3 months from now, when they're still looking and they think about that number that they're missing out on, and they're like, I could have, paid, for that service, and I would probably be working by now.
And I think too, getting the reps just interviewing is going to help you with your process. Like you said, get it down cold. It's going to come across in the interview.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Anxiety.
yeah. When you do mock interviews, what we try to uncover is the unknown, right? That's what you get when you talk to a seasoned recruiter because we get an idea of what that unknown is, right? We see resumes, we interview candidates, we work closely with hiring managers, we know what's important to them, and so we try to address those things through a mock interview. We listen to what you say when you respond. We look at you when you look down at your resume and you're doing this and you're, those kind of things, right? And we try to coach that out of you so that you can have an intelligent conversation and you're putting relevant information that you probably have, but you didn't think it was important in your resume. If you've got 90% of what's in the job description, but you're only showing 60, you know, that's what we deal with a lot of times. And so we try to uncover those things and make sure that you're telling the complete story. I always say this, when you're doing an interview, that is your opportunity to do a humble brag. That's the one time that you have an opportunity to brag about yourself because they want to hear what you're capable of. And if you don't brag about yourself, you're a modest human being. I think we're all fairly modest, which is why we like each other. But one of those things is where when you're interviewing, you can't be modest. You can't withhold information and think that you're going to get the job. They need to know that they're getting, because they always tell us, we want stars and studs. Can you find me a star? Okay, I'm going to find you a star. But guess what? When Bryce Harper walks in the door, don't tell me he was brash because he knows he's good. So he's going to tell you that he's good and tell you all the things that he accomplished. He's got a 350 batting average and 50 home runs last year. And I stole, 40 bases. And if you pay me the money, I'm going to show you the value. And that's the same thing when we're trying to hire these star people. Let's talk about what you've accomplished and let's put it on that resume. So I tell candidates all the time, hiring managers, humble brag, but tell them what you're worth. One of the key things I think I left out was, when we apply to jobs on your behalf, right? There's some other things that happen behind the scenes. I won't get into all the details, but one of those things that we make sure that we do is we personalize your resume for each application. So if you sat down and tried to do that for the number of applications that we do on your behalf, it would be impossible. It would be beyond a full-time job. So if I tell you that we're applying to 75 or 80 positions, a week for you based on the role and based on what you're telling me you're willing to do, right? If you're mobile and willing to relocate, I can get a lot more jobs, right? But if you tell me I'm only willing to work in LA and I want to work from home, it does limit the pool a little bit. So maybe 75 to 80 is not the number. Maybe that number is more like 50 to 60, but you get the picture. It's still a big number. Well, each one of those applications, your resume is customized for that job. So you don't have to have 15 different versions of your resume, right? We have a master copy, and then we have different versions that we're tracking for each application. Now, all that said, you're still in the business vertical that you're in, right? If you are a chief marketing officer, we're not applying to, chief technology officer. We're trying to stay within the lane. But if we're looking at, a Nestle versus looking at an NBC, well, we're going to customize it for NBC. We're going to customize it for Nestle. We're going to customize it, for the startup or whatever. And so we do that for you as well. So you're really getting a customized treatment. And it's something that every company should offer. So when you say coaching, and I had the fortune, I won't call it the misfortune, but I had the fortunate experience of having, career coaching. And I walked out of it thinking that was just a total waste of time. It was a total waste of time, especially from someone who was already in HR and knew those things. There was nothing new that I learned from that. And I couldn't believe that the company paid 20 grand for that service for me, you know. And I wish they had just given me that money, as part of my exit package. But I just said I could do this better, and that was years ago. But I just said I could do this better, and I didn't put it into play until I started my own business. And this is me doing that better, So
That's a great thing about having your own business.
yeah,
You're your own boss.
yeah,
And if that's what you feel is going to be the thing that's going to enhance your company and your business development, you got nobody else saying no but yourself.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can give you a brand new car, but if you don't have any gas to power it, you're not gonna, it's just gonna sit there, right? So we want to make certain that you have, to get up and go. So now that you can put that car on the road. And for us, that's creating a great resume. And then let's get that resume out the door and get you some job interviews. Let's get you some at bats. Let's get you practicing interviewing. Let's get you networking. Because sometimes in networking, if you don't get the job, it's the conversations, right? It's the connection that you're making with people. And maybe that leads to a referral. You had a great conversation with someone and they say, hey, they remember, right? People remember great conversations and they remember great resumes. How many times have we come back to a candidate that we liked that didn't get the job? Those things happen. And so it's the same thing. And so we try to make certain that you have multiple opportunities to go out. And I'm working with people today, that within 2 weeks, they're on their sixth interview, and that includes that 2 weeks time includes the time spent reviewing, rewriting the resume, creating the executive summary, and then, on Monday, we start that process. And within 2 weeks, all of that's happened and you already got interviews. So that's how quick this process happens. And so when, like I said, we made it so that you've got a menu of options. You've got a gold, a silver, and a bronze package, each one offering different levels of service. And then we have an a la carte. So maybe none of those work for you because you don't have the money to pay for any of those, but you still need, maybe you just need some at bats. Maybe you just need, hey, I think I got a good looking resume because I already paid someone $300 to do my resume. I'm sure you could do it, but I'm going to use this one that I have. Can you just get me some at bats? And can I pay as I go? Yes, we can do that. So again, we try to make it affordable because if you're like a creative and you're just starting out and you got 2 grand to spend on a job search to help you get there, we can help you get those at bats, right? And so we do things to help people. And by the way, it's not 2 grand. I just threw that number out there. It's actually less than that. But if you need help with that, we can help you get there.
So Wade, I was just wondering, how can potential clients find you? Can you share your website and your social medias?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn at Wade Smart, obviously. The website is smartpartnersconsulting.com. And smartpartnersconsulting LLC.com, I'm sorry. And then the email address is Wade at smartpartnersconsultingllc.com. Now, you may ask, why such a long name? Well, I'm new to the market. There's a lot of companies out there with the name Smart in it. Believe me, when you're trying to find the right one, you're going to go through a lot. So I couldn't just keep it short, guys. Sorry. So it is it is smartpartnersconsulting.com. And we try to be smart, intuitive about the job market. I stay abreast of the job market on a daily basis. I'm talking to people every day, and trying to offer great advice, something that's going to help. And that just comes from just making sure that every interaction when you're engaging with someone brings value. And so that's always been my motto. I'm not a small talk kind of guy. I mean, I can talk sports all day long, don't get me wrong, but in terms of small talk, I don't know, it's never been my forte. So I try to bring value when I'm engaging with someone. And if it's work related, I hope there's some nuggets that you can take away with it.
Love it.
Yeah, you've dropped gems all throughout this conversation. So, I mean, many thanks to
Thank you.
you, and congratulations on what you're doing. And we look forward to having you back and discussing even more in the future.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys bringing me on. I appreciate, what you guys are doing. I mean, this is great. This is a great podcast, and I've been watching from afar, and I'm flattered that you guys asked me to, be a part of it finally. But I thank you guys for having me. You guys are great, man. Love you both, and I wish you nothing but success with this.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And always remember to stay sharp.